What's up, guys? Isaac Payne here, and welcome to episode 4 of Small Business Conversations. This is where we interview small business owners from a wide range of industries to pick their brains about how they started their business, the products and services they offer, how they're dealing with COVID, the future of their industry, and so much more. Today, I have a special guest who I've known for a long time from the fitness industry. He runs his own CrossFit facility, strength and conditioning facility. And since getting his CrossFit certification in 2009, he's helped over 1,000 people from a variety of backgrounds. And he finds that fitness and to find out what fitness means to them. He's had great success working with clients from a wide variety of backgrounds, including soccer moms to high-level rugby and competitive CrossFit athletes. He helps them increase their overall fitness and strength while simultaneously decreasing their body fat and any discomfort with their bodies. So today I have for you the owner and head coach of Raincity Athletics from Vancouver, BC, Simon Thor Damborg. Hey, Simon, what's up?
Thanks for coming out. I feel like there would be a crowd cheering right now.
Thanks for coming out, buddy.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's great to catch up with you. We go back at least a decade or so.
Way back. Yeah, literally.
That's
weird.
World.
That's weird. Actually, a decade now. Oh, God, we're old, man.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Yeah. So, I just wanted to kind of catch up with you and pick your brain with all this chaos going on. For those of you who've never heard of you and don't know you, how did you get into the fitness industry and how did you start your gym?
Yeah, fitness. I originally wanted to be kind of doing outdoor rec management stuff I'd looked at, and then I was leaning more like joining the VPD was something I wanted to do in high school and growing up a lot. And then I applied for that right out of high school, went through the process, and they were basically like, dude, you're young, like you're great candidate, but like go to school, go do something and then come back. So I went away to UVic and did a theater degree, which makes perfect sense, right? Logical. And then while doing that, got into more like some personal training and stuff like that. I played a lot of rugby and things. I was 6'2", 160 pounds when I graduated high school. So I was a stick. My rugby coach was like, hey, if you're going to be playing rugby at uni, you got to put on some weight or you're going to get killed. So first year uni, I got big into the gym and training and stuff like that, and never really went back to rugby, like just fell in love with working out basically. And then a few years into university, I think it was about second or third year, we were pretty early. So 2007, I think I started. One of my roommates did his CrossFit level 1. He was one of the first people who came back. He was like, yo, you got to try this CrossFit thing. And I was like, well, and so he started showing it to me, and I was just always like, dude, you look like an idiot. Like you're embarrassing everybody. He's running around the gym, swinging dumbbells and doing cheating pull-ups. And then I literally remember about 6 months later, we were doing deadlifts together, and he weighed about 60 pounds less than me, and he out deadlifted me. And I was just like, I remember looking at him and going, all right, well, whatever you're doing is working better than what I'm doing. Like I'm in. So I got big into the CrossFit, the training, competing in that. And then I just started working with friends of mine, how we all start, like, oh yeah, you provide some advice for buddies and more. And I realized that like all the things I wanted to be a police officer for, or a firefighter, or whatever, was I could get out of doing the personal training thing and working with clients. I wanted to work with people. I liked that it was physically demanding. So when I came back to Vancouver, I started working or coaching at some different CrossFit gyms. I've made my way through a few over the years, and just really fell in love with it. I was doing construction part-time, basically paying the bills with that, and then just coaching and training every moment that I could in between. After a few years of working at a few different gyms, I just found a lot of them were either like really competitive focused and like very high level gyms, and they had national level teams and all that stuff, or really community focused and like had really good events and really good community. And I just kind of thought, there's a middle ground here. Like, why can't we have high performance, good quality coaches and everything, and have a really strong community and still take care of the soccer moms and the everything else, but then also take care of the elite level athletes. And so that's why it starts brewing that, like, as every new CrossFitter or guy working out, you're like, well, I can do this better. Of course. Tried in about 2010. I thought I was going to open my own. Very quickly realized I have no idea how to run a small business, and just because I know how to train clients. Long story short, years later, I think it's been about 7 years now. 7, or I should know this, 2013, coming up on 8 years that we've had Raincity open. 3 or 4 years ago, we expanded. So we went from about 2,500 square feet to 7,500 square feet now. I had business partners in the early days. usual small business nightmares. Everybody's got a difference of opinion, so it's just me now. Long story short there. Anyways, yeah, got rid of the partners, or we just went separate ways. Everybody's fine and dandy. And yeah, so I got Raincity to myself now, going 7-8 years. In the interim, started up as well, called the Functional Fitness League, which you're big fan of, or was back in the day, which is again about bringing competitive fitness to the lower level athlete and just kind of aiming for that 90% of the market that wasn't elite, or 99%, let's be serious,
Yeah.
that wasn't elite level competitors. Yeah, and then I've got a couple other businesses and things we've started up in the meantime, because as you know, most entrepreneurs, we don't sit still very well. So
Very
lots of
true.
things on the go there. But yeah, I don't remember the original question, but we're up and running now.
No, that's great, man. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah.
You guys offer a lot of different classes and stuff at your gym. So you guys do the CrossFit stuff. What else do you guys offer?
So we actually technically dropped the CrossFit thing almost 2 years ago now, a year and a half ago now, which
Okay.
same difference. So functional fitness, same idea. So yeah, pre-COVID, we had functional fitness, CrossFit group classes. We do a lot of individual programming. So like there's at our peak, we had about 100 athletes on like individual programs where they have something written specific for them, by our coaches. And then we do, of course, a lot of the private training, corporate training, small group. What's nice with the new spot or the expansion is we've got two sides to the facility. So like we can run our big group class programs on one side and then run something totally different on the other side, at the same time, or different. So yeah, I'd say we're 60% group classes, or were pre-COVID, and then 40% private training, programming, and all kinds of other services like that. We do a ton of like hybrid of the two, like a couple days of group classes, a couple days of individual programming and private training and stuff like that.
Okay. So how
Yeah.
many coaches do you have working for you now?
Right now, we've got 4 full timers, or full timers. We like a career coach, basically, like people that they don't necessarily make all their money from me, but they coach athletes as a full time job. So just 4 full timers now. We're actually in the process of trying to hire one more, and then about 7 part timers. Pre COVID, at our best, we had 6 full timers and 5 part timers, and that's when things were like running smoothly. It was great, and then yeah, COVID. Well, I just had one leave, move away, and then one in COVID just decided to shift more to the like online thing and do his own thing, which was sad to see him go. But it was Mitch. You probably met him. He worked for me for 5 years, and so yeah, I helped him transition to doing his own thing in the online. So yeah, we're down to 3 or 4 full timers now, and looking to grab one more.
Okay. Well, it's not
Yeah,
too bad then.
yeah.
So I mean, COVID hit. How's it impacted your business, and what have you done to kind of adapt? What are things looking like right now nowadays in the gym world?
Yeah, I mean, there was the early COVID days, like the full lockdown where we had to close our doors like everybody else. We did the transition to the online thing as best we could. I'm very grateful that we're, a community-based membership facility. So like we have mostly monthly members, not like a drop-in basis, because thank God, because nobody came to our online classes.
Okay.
Of our members, we
Okay.
had probably 300 active members at the time, and we ran 1 or 2 or 3 classes a day. Everybody did the workouts in the program, but nobody wanted anything to do with our Zoom classes, which was kind of, they're 2 people per. But so I always said I respect or feel bad for the studios that closed, that like relied on drop-ins to keep things going. And I mean, some of these, I know Tight Club, Katie's a good friend, like they get 50 plus people doing their online workouts with them and stuff. And here we are, like if we managed to get 4, we were like, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
luckily our community and our members were all very supportive. We did a whole slew of like custom COVID membership options for them based on what they could afford, but they were all very, very good in that like they knew we were going to offer them the best fitness that we could given the circumstances, and they were happy to pay as much as they could afford to, whether that was a full membership or not, as long as we continue to provide them something. So during the full lockdown, I mean, we still took a 60% revenue hit for a month in there, but it came back a lot quicker once we could open our doors, thankfully, just because we've got it like, yeah, that's the beauty of the community-based fitness side of things. Like they know they want us to keep our doors open. They're there to support us. We're there to support their fitness, and they're there to make sure we're around to support their fitness, thankfully. But yeah, so we've went through the full lockdown phase now. We've gone back to the individual access type thing. So I did a town hall at the beginning of lockdown and stuff with all of our EMS, first responders, frontline workers, and it was probably one of the most useful things I've done as a business owner through COVID, because I would just, I did this hoping to get answers. Hey, if we do this distancing, is that going to work? Is this going to work? And like originally thought that I would get these answers from them. They'd help me run my business. But in the end, what I learned is that they had no idea. Nobody had any idea. The thing was terrifying and scary. And anybody that claimed to know anything about it was lying. So that right off the bat taught me like, okay, this is going to be a very variable time period. There's no right answer to any of this. Like at that point, their protocols were changing every hour. They all of a sudden got a new mandate came out. They had to wear these masks and that and not and da da da. And I realized like, okay, shit, I'm not going to get the straight answers I was hoping for, and I don't think we ever will through this. So it was not at all what I hoped for in the town hall, but it was probably one of the best things that I did to kind of prepare for the massive variables that were coming down and are continuing to come down the pipeline. So yeah, with that, where we've done a good job, and as I'm sure you know, as a business owner, it's hard to say that sometimes. We're very critical of ourselves, but we've stayed pretty well ahead of any government mandates and whatnot, just by do regular check-ins with those first responders and whatnot of, okay, what's the latest evidence showing, okay, transmission via air and heavy breathing and things like that is the problem. And so rather than always like waiting for Bonnie Henry guidelines and trying to figure out how to work with them, just trying to stay ahead of it. Okay, well, we know that air transmission was the big thing. Okay, well, getting doors open, getting people spaced out, not sharing equipment, of course, reservation blocks. And, so generally speaking, we've done a very good job that every time a new government mandate comes out, we are usually 2 weeks to a month ahead. We mandated masks everywhere outside of when you were working out about 2 to 3 weeks before that dropped on everybody, and just little things like that. So it's been, it's been a hell of a ride. But it's also, I joked, it's been kind of fun. I have to be an entrepreneur again. Like we just got our business to the point where things were running smoothly. It was paying its bills. We were making money, which was a very nice place to be. And then all of a sudden, at the drop of a pin, it was like every day was, okay, how are we going to deal with this? How are we going to do that? We got it. And it's like, was if it weren't your business on the line and people's health is fun as an entrepreneur, of like problem solving, just nonstop. Yeah. So it was, and just by keeping track of the latest research on the virus has made it a lot easier to stay afloat and stay ahead of things, rather than always waiting for a government mandate and having to change everything every time a new one drops. It's just, staying ahead of it has been interesting, but helped a lot.
Yeah. No, it's takes a lot of due diligence for sure. I can imagine. Yeah. I mean, for me, my back was put to the wall immediately.
Right.
So my landlord kind of forced my hand, and I had no idea how long this was going to go on for. And it was kind of like, hey man, it's like, do you want to pay to stay or you can get out, basically? And I was like, okay.
Yeah, and I respect that.
So
well, and that's where I was lucky. Right off the bat, my landlord, he cut our rent in half right off the bat. He said no, and I've got 8 years left on a lease there, and they're not stupid. If I go out of business because of rent, which is the number one thing that's going to put you out, they've got 7 and 8 years. Nobody's taking that spot over anything. We got 7,500 square feet. It is not a cheap space, and so I got very lucky there that right off the bat, landlord was good. But yeah, now I'm going back to negotiating with him. And you guys, the gyms that did make that decision, I highly respect, because I just hope that I'll have it in, because people don't get small businesses and gyms and you don't like all of a sudden go bankrupt and out of business. Like, it's a very long, slow thing that you've got to see where that's going. And it's not an easy decision of like, oh, I'm out of money, so we're closing now. It's like, no, I've got the money, and like I could accumulate more debt and get through this, but do I want to come out the other side with $100,000 in debt? Like, no, we did that already. We've done that grind. I'm not here to do that. And that's what I've always said. So I'm back to negotiating with the landlord, and like, we're still down a decent amount in revenue. And if he wants full rent, that's going to start putting me in the negative month to month. And it's a matter of like, okay, what's my number? How much am I willing to go? And we've got the government loans, and that's been great. So like, there is the money there, but it's, again, if this is going to be, what are we looking at till September on vaccines and all that? If we're losing 1, 3, 5, like what's the, there's no number where it's like, oh, out of business. It's like,
I know what
And
you're saying.
the longer you grind it out, the hard, the more pot committed you are, the further in the hole you are, the harder it is to. So that's where, yeah, all the guys that in the first couple bits were like, "Not, we're out," or got screwed. I feel terrible for, but I also respect highly that I'm like, shit, I keep a close eye, and I don't know when or how to make that decision, and I hope I don't have to, but we all,
Well,
you're
I mean,
watching
for
it.
you, if it sounds like, I mean, if you got 8 years on your lease, you got quite a bit of
I got,
time to potentially recover. I only
yeah,
had 3 years left on mine.
right.
So I figured, I could bleed for a year and then spend the next two trying to
Two
recover.
maybe
So
recovering. Yeah, fair.
what am I really doing here?
Yeah,
So I
totally.
said, you know what? Cut my losses now and just
Yeah,
move on. Plus, I got two little ones at home too. So
yeah.
I got a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. Last thing I want to do is be at work all day.
Well, exactly. That's
My wife's at home drowning, and I'm not making any money.
well, exactly, and that's Nancy from West 10, who I think
Yeah,
they closed their doors as well. And I talked to her about it. She was like, "Yeah, they've got a second kid right around the same age there, and they're like, we were just at a point where we could be around for our kids. Like, I'm not. They're like, we don't want to do the entrepreneur thing all over again, which is basically what it is. You're back, back in debt, and yeah, you're grinding for a year to get back to zero, and it's just like."
yes, yes.
So I don't have any kids or anything else,
Yeah,
which is always a problem. Like, that's why I'm worried that Simon, like, be smart, pull out if if I need to pull out and pull shoot, I need to be ready to do that because I've got nothing else telling me to, and it's just like I
yeah,
don't want to
yeah.
end up. I'm not. I don't want to do that grind again. I don't want to grind back to get to zero and have to spend three. Like, I spent the last 6 years doing that. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
we
yeah.
we
It's tough, man. It's a tough position to be in.
yeah,
I mean, if you see yourself doing it in the long run, it's probably worth the fight, I would
yeah,
say.
yeah,
I mean, for me, I kind of was on my tail end. Like I wasn't
right,
going to renew my lease anyways.
right,
So I
yeah,
thought
that
to
makes sense.
myself, well, what
Yeah,
am I fighting for, right?
right.
So
Well,
yeah, we have
that's
to factor all these things in, but I respect you guys. I'm watching you guys all the time, and my heart goes out to you because it is.
totally
I know the
the
gym
grind,
business. It's
the
like,
grind, right? Well, if
right?
we hadn't, like, right pre about 6 months pre-COVID, we'd finally hit that stride because, like, I bought out my partners, did an expansion, and basically started over again. And it took 2.5, 3 years, and we finally got to a point where, like, okay, I wasn't working 60 hours a week. Bills were being paid, debts were being paid. I wasn't being paid enough for how much I worked, but sure, I love what I do. Let's call it
Yeah.
worth it. And so we just hit that point for about 6 months, and then COVID came, and, like, if I hadn't have got there, I would not be doing this grind right now. Like, because you'd seen the light at the end of the tunnel. It was like, okay, I can do this for the next however long. Great. And
Yeah.
then it all went away, and you're like,
Oh,
oh,
there
if it
you
had
go,
happened
right?
6 months earlier and I'd never made it to that light at the end of the tunnel point, I'd be like, nah, there's no chance that I'm going through this again. So it's
Yeah, yeah.
it's there. I know it's doable, but it's like, again,
Mhm.
how much of a hole or am I willing to have to climb out of? And I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer.
Well, I think you'll know though, just like, you'll feel something in your gut. Gut will just tell you, like, you know what, this is too steep of an incline to
Yeah.
climb.
Yeah.
It just might not be worth it. So,
Totally.
that's what happened with me. My gut just told me, you know what,
This is
something
not.
ain't right here. I'm not getting any support or love from my
Yeah.
landlord right off the
Yeah.
top. So
That's
I'm like,
brutal. That's
okay,
brutal.
I'm out. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
mean,
Fair.
but yeah, I mean, good for you. I mean, I'm glad you've come so far. I mean, I can't believe it's been 7 years already. That's
I know that's weird. I think, yeah. August
when you first
2013,
opened.
7 coming into eight. I know. Yeah. Yeah. That's I try not to think about that.
So in terms of like, I guess the workouts and the clients, I know CrossFit's intense. Like, how
Yep.
are you guys delivering your service now? I know a lot of gyms are dialing down the
Yep.
intensity and all that kind of stuff. So what's your programming and everything
Yeah.
looking like these days?
So I mean, the nice thing now, like, we were waiting for a long time. We obviously put group classes on hold, months ago because we weren't sure what we were allowed or what was okay or not. And we didn't really, like, we were on a week to week on how things operated, which is, for, like, programming things like that is an absolute nightmare. Like, we like to write 8 weeks out, have it all set in was great. So it was kind of all over as far as what we expected of coaches, just everything changing was a pain. And then finally they released, okay, yeah, hey, group classes, here's how they operate. And it's the low intensity standard stuff. And it's just so restricting that it's like, okay, that's not, you can't bodybuild, you can't heavy lift, you can't do any, it's like, you can do a very casual yoga class and that's about it. And we're like, okay. So that's where once that finally dropped, we're like, cool, we're locking in. We call it Raincity Globo, which is the like
Okay.
we're operating as more of a Steve Nash, which is one of those things that I mean, for permits wise, it's always been a nightmare as a studio gym owner because like being a big like large square footage wise studio is something the city doesn't have a space for. You know, if you're over 2,200 square feet, you're a Steve Nash, and they want you to have 150 parking stalls and all these absurd requirements. If you're under 2,200, you're a yoga studio, and it's like, okay, well, we're over 2,200, but we're not a
Yes.
Steve Nash, and it was a nightmare to get permits. But now it's kind of great because it's like, okay, well, COVID, like, okay, we're a Steve Nash now, like,
Yeah.
and so that's where we made that shift. The one big thing that I think we're doing well on that I hate to say a lot of gyms aren't is we didn't just cancel group classes and say, hey, it's open gym, here's your daily workout, come and do it. Because our risk assessment, keeping up, was like multiple people breathing heavily at the same time is the problem, and that's why group classes are not okay. But you can have people at a Steve Nash, all on their treadmills and doing whatever. So we've gone based on Globo gym requirements. So there's got to be at least 8 feet between cardio equipment, barriers when possible, masks. So we're using all those requirements. And then now we have actually 4 different programming tracks available to our clients. One that's just Olympic lifting, one that's your usual functional fitness, stuff like that. The at home, 7 days a week of at home workouts we still put out there too. And then more of like so like we've got multiple programs out there. We've shown clients like, hey, like take a look at the full week of workouts, pick your main things that you want to focus on, your squat and your deadlift, do those days every week. Don't do them, you don't have to do them on the day that they're put out there. Like choose your priorities and like set your program and follow. And so that way when people come in, they're not all doing the same thing anyways, just without a coach, which what kind of ends up happening. And then on top of that, the other big thing that I think helps a lot is we run 10 people at a time, but they come and go in at 30-minute increments. So like 5 people start at 6 a.m., 5 more people start at 6:30, 5 more people are, and so that way you never have more than 5 people waiting to go in and out, because that's what they've shown a lot of the problems with adult sports and rec and all that stuff is it's the hanging out before and after that actually causes a lot of the issues. So yeah, we only have 5 people go in and out every 30 minutes, but then they still have an hour, 50-minute block, 10-minute transition times between. Everybody does their own cleaning and stuff there. So those 2 things are what kind of give me confidence that we are operating like whether it's like a Steve Nash, not just a group class studio, not doing group classes. Like we've completely gotten away from it. Most of the athlete, when you walk into the gym, everybody's got their own box, square space, everything's broken apart and whatnot. But they're all doing different things. There's no 2 people side by side, just both doing the same workout of the day. They're all there to follow some program track or something different, which is what I think is a big difference between just saying, oh yeah, we just do open gym now, here's your one workout to follow, because as far as I'm concerned, that's not a solution. That's, if anything, worse than just running a group class.
It's a bit ironic because I mean it's like the very essence of what you guys do you can't do.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like people come for this heavy breathing, the sweating,
Yeah.
crazy circuits, and that's the one thing you can't do.
Yeah.
Kind of
Well,
like,
and you can, because like again, you go to Steve Nash right now, you're allowed to do anything you want.
yeah,
But what's kind of funny is part of the reason, and it's always based on the side. Like there's been 0 transmissions or spread at Steve Nash facilities. I always use Steve. Are they out of business? I don't even know. You know what I mean? Globo gyms.
I know what you mean. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And part of that is because they're so antisocial. And that's working great for COVID. It's why they suck, in my opinion, because you walk in, nobody talks to anybody, nobody even looks at anybody, but that's also why Bonnie Henry has left them alone, is because there's been no outbreaks at them because nobody talks to each other. So, having multiple people on a treadmill is okay. It's 8 feet instead of 6 feet and things like that. So like there's a lot of tape on our floors. Like if you want to do cardio or high intensity, you've got a separate box that you fit in within your box, and you have to be facing a wall, and you have to be, so like we've got it's quite the little like grid pattern in there. So athletes are doing more higher intensity things, but with very specific. And I mean, we also used to run 25 people at a time, and now we're doing 10 to 12. So like there's a lot of room, a lot of space for them to do it. So, but it's missing the community side for sure, which is a big part of what we offer. And it's funny, when we started the Globo thing, I felt terrible that, like, our members pay. They love the dogs. They love the community. The hanging out before and after. It's their social event, and like we
Yeah.
couldn't provide that, and I felt terrible. But then I also realized in talking to our members, like it's the only time they leave their house, other than grocery shopping. So even if they're not friendly buddy, the fact that they are out in a safe space around people, they are ecstatic about. So it's like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I guess the bar's been set pretty low as far as what's community these days. So
Yeah.
they're out, there's
Yeah.
people around, and they don't, they feel safe. Like they're ecstatic to have that. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that we can do for you then. That we can manage.
Guess it's all relative, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So at this point, yeah, we can't offer a fraction of what we used to, but we can still offer a hell of a lot more than what they're getting from home. So people are pretty happy with that.
Now, like in terms of moving forward, do you think a lot of these protocols are going to keep, or are you going to just go back to what you used to do? Are you
like
finding that,
like post COVID altogether, or
yeah,
over the
post
next?
COVID, like let's just say a year from now, the dust has settled and you can kind of do whatever you want again. Do you think you'll
Yeah.
maintain some of this stuff, or what do you think?
Some things, I mean, that's what I joke. And like, I mean, every gym owner's got a certain amount of OCD, as we all do, and whatnot. And like having taped boxes and everybody stuck in one and whatnot is kind of nice.
I,
um, Restrictive on capacity limits, but the cleaning for sure. Like, I love like the fact that clients finally are properly wiping down their stuff when they're done is fantastic.
yeah,
Like, does
yeah,
everybody need their own individual bucket and spray bottle? No, but the fact that they are now know how to
in the
do
gym.
that. We were pretty good for the most part. Everybody was good about reserving classes and stuff like that, but now everybody's really good at that. So we'll yeah, certain thing. I don't know that we'll keep the protocols necessarily, but I do hope to keep certain aspects of, yeah, the cleaning up after yourself, like that, the just little things like that I hope we can. What we got, like the, not attitude changes, but yeah, clients' behavior. They're all very well corralled right now, and it's like,
Yeah,
okay, let's slowly uncorral, but like let keep doing it. Everything you've been doing, keep doing
yeah.
all that, please. So yeah, I don't think any major protocols that we have in um, will keep, but yeah, some of those behavior changes of the athletes, I hope that we can maintain.
Now, have you added a lot of online programming to your gym?
So we add, like I said, we failed miserably. We did a good like online programming. People followed those. We actually now, one of the things in like not necessarily cutting costs but trimming time, we utilize NC Fit, a bunch of their programs and stuff like that. Jason Kalipa's stuff. They offer multiple tracks. We gut it, so we follow it months behind. We'll take the template from it, and then we'll go through and we'll adjust it all based on how we want and need. But they offer, as part of that, 7 days a week of like on demand at home workout videos that just require a dumbbell, which was a big perk for like getting a membership with them. Like just access to that alone was pretty cool. A lot of our members asked for the like on demand workout thing, and I never really understood it until I started doing some of these, and I do them probably twice a week right now at home, because the fact that it's just like pull up a video, look at what it is, okay, pull up a video, hit play, and follow along for 45 minutes, and like this is fantastic. Like, oh, I get it. When my clients were asking for it, and I was like, no, it's dumb. Just do a Zoom class with us. Why would you want the? And now I get, I'm like, yeah, sorry, we missed the mark there, but like we've got them now,
Yeah,
provided by somebody else. So yeah, that's all the. I mean, we do actually. That's a lie. We still do like online private training, things like that for the people that are a bit more concerned about coming in. But not nearly as much. The second the gym doors opened, everybody was pretty eager to get back in the gym and get away from the sweaty at home thing.
okay. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess there's two different customers: the people that want the home workout and the people that want to be in the gym.
Yeah. And there's some people that are like, you know what? Hey, the home workout things, like we've probably got a dozen that regularly follow the at home workouts and do those as their main thing. And they're quite happy with it. They're on fitness maintenance mode kind of thing. But most other people, I think, were going stir crazy at home, and we're eager to just get out of the house, basically.
No, fair enough. Now,
Yeah.
what do you think? 1, 2 years down the road, what do you think your business is going to look like? What's your predictions for all that's going on right now? Let's fast forward to yeah,
Yeah.
2 years.
So I mean, one of the other projects that I started a bit ago, or I don't even know when we started. So I'm the president of the BC Functional Fitness Sports Association. So we're working it separate from the league, which people get very confused by, and rightfully so. So the BCFFSA we work under the Canadian Functional Fitness Federation, which is under the International Federation. So we're actually the nonprofit governing body of developing the sport of functional fitness in BC. So what's cool about that, it is everything that I thought CrossFit was when I started. You know, when I got into it, it's like, hey, I want to bring CrossFit to schools and I want to do it with all these cool things like that. And then over time, I learned that CrossFit's not a sport, it's a company. You know, that's CrossFit is the NFL or the NHL. The sport is football. You know, and you don't bring the NFL to high schools. You bring football to high schools, and so learning that. So the sport is functional fitness. So we've got a board, six members on the board now for BC. We've got 6 or 8 clubs registered, and we're just starting to make a big push on that. It is nonprofit. It's a legit provincial sports organization. We're working for validation from Via Sport so that we can be titled as an official sport, which for COVID would help a lot because it would have allowed us, like registered clubs, you could say your sport training facility is a totally different world. So yeah, that really actually we started about 2 years ago, started the slow process under the other federations. And then when Glassman basically came out as a terrible human, which I've known for years, but that all of a sudden, right, I've been for a year and a half trying to grow club registration. And then literally overnight, that guy did more for our growth. And everybody was like, okay, well, screw CrossFit, but I need an identity. And we're like, functional fit. Hey, we're here. It's a thing. So yeah, the reason I mention all that, because my goal down the road 2 years from now is like, I hope that, yeah, we're running school programs. It's one of my favorite things that we do. But what's cool is once it's a sport, we can run a school program that kids get PE credit for. You know, they could either come and see us and they'll get PE credit, or we can go to schools and run PE programs and things like that. And so there's a ton, you get massive government grants. There's a tons of opportunity once you legitimize it as an actual sport. So Raincity wise, I don't think things will change massively. But I hope that we can expand it into doing more stuff with youth and schools and kids, and like, yeah, being part of a legitimate sport. Again, just seeing what doors that opens for us, as opposed to just going back to like, yeah, we run CrossFit, non-CrossFit group classes. So that's kind of the bigger project for me for the next 2 years. Like Raincity, I want to get it back to a point where things operate well. I've got 4 or 5 full-timers that make good money and make a living working with clients, and like just get that back to a nice float, but no intentions of expanding Raincity any bigger or anything. Like I'm never signing another lease again. So just getting Raincity back to where it was pre-COVID, and then letting it kind of run itself, having a home base. I mean, I love that place and being able to be there and have it, but I want it to take care of itself and just have a good team of coaches running things, and then trying to get the sport on a basically make it a legit sport, and then take advantage of the opportunities that creates.
Well, that sounds pretty cool. I mean, that's definitely something for the next generation to be looking forward to. Because I mean, we didn't have that. For us, it was just like
No,
bodybuilding, right? You know what I mean? So
right.
if these
And
kids
if
are
you think about it, like
young age,
PE, it should be like functional fitness and CrossFit style stuff is perfect for a PE class. It's like, you can do the kind of competitive, it's fitness. A bunch of school teachers, members of ours, I work with them, and we've got a few that are regulars of mine that do it. They run full PE classes, and they just kind of copy our gym workouts and make them at home versions and do. And it's, kids love and hate it, just like clients. There's the ones that they want to do 100 burpees for time and see how fast they can go, and then there's the ones that just hate it altogether, but they hate any sport you do. So
yeah.
it's just that perfect sport, like fitness sport. It's it's functional fitness as a sport. And so the idea, and I mean, you look now, the kids that started when they're 12 now, we've got 16-year-olds that clean 350 pounds. That's why I stopped competing. You and I got out of it. We used to be good at this. Now you see, you're like, I am out. I am not a chance.
It is crazy. It is impressive. It's just like, wow. Like, how do you do that at that age? It's just,
All right.
mind blowing.
So it's exciting. That's why I like the idea of we make it a real sport, because then you standardize coaching, judging, all the things that CrossFit never really provided, as far as like a set standard of, hey, what does a season look like? And it becomes a sport that kids can actually train for properly, and you know that they've got validated coaches to do it, and different, they follow just like every other sport. That, it's nothing new or special. It just would be so cool to have that opportunity for this thing that we love to do so much. So, and yeah, just I terrifies me to think of what these kids will be able to do if they start at age 8, 10. Like, again, I'm glad we went to regionals when we did. Like, to be able to say, you tell a client now, like, oh, I used to go to regionals. They're like, what? Yeah, I worked a full-time job and went to regionals, so it's no big deal. And people are just, and I think it's pretty awesome that we can say things like that, and like,
no kidding, right?
we got in early enough that, and like, they don't need to know that.
No,
Yeah, we were hung over half the time we competed or whatever, but fine. That's like, yeah, we were that good. Okay, it doesn't matter how many other athletes there were. We were that good. Okay, so.
That's awesome, man. That sounds exciting. And hopefully things open up and we can actually start having some competitions.
Right. Yeah, totally. Well, we're gonna try. We were halfway through a league, an FFL season, when COVID hit, and so I'm gonna try, once things relax a little bit, we're gonna do kind of like the Rogue Invitational format and try to have, get your team together at your gym and everybody zoom in at the same time, and then we'll have like a judge at each gym, and then that way it's not like 50 people in a space, but it's also not just the like, oh, it's the open, here's a workout, do it at some point. Still have the like live feed of it, and we've been planning it for a while, and all I have to do is have one judge that I trust at each facility to keep an eye on things and submit scores, and I think it should work. So I'm pretty excited to kind of try that out. And like I said, this is the fun of COVID as an entrepreneur. You're like, ooh, opportunities to try new things. Like, so we'll be giving that a try for the FFL. But yeah, excited to get just seasons of that go back up and running again. But I don't even think about that. I assume it's so far away.
Yeah. Well, it's good to have things in your back pocket just in case, there's a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. You can kind of say, okay,
hey, we can start getting ready for this. Yeah, exactly. Got a friend that lives in Hong Kong, and they were in lockdown again. He was like, oh yeah, we're like wave 5 now. And it was just, he said that to me. I was like, what are you guys, wave 2? I'm like, yeah, and it's awful. Like, oh God. He's like, yeah, you get used to it. He's like, wave 5, only 70 cases, but it's like overnight, everything gets locked down for 2 weeks. And they've just been doing that. And then they operate normally for a month or two. And then all of a sudden cases start to spike, and it's like overnight, boom, everybody's home. And it's just hearing him say, oh yeah, we're in wave 5. I was like,
5.
Oh, so that's
Wow.
I don't plan for too far.
It's just like, oh my goodness, how many rounds are we doing, right?
Exactly. You're doing, exactly. You're like, I thought I was done. Nah, bro, you got at least 2 more. What do you mean at least? Do I have 2 more?
Yeah.
Oh God. Smokes. Yeah. So I mean, the timelines right now that I'm going, they're assuming they can vaccinate everybody and whatnot by September, hopefully. So that's what I'm when we get closer, I'm assuming we'll operate in this like individual access Raincity Globo format until then. So, which is not terrible. Like, I like the fact that we can just lock that in. Like I said, oh, are we going to group class? Are we going to this? Are we going to that? Was more of a pain, because it was like, so now once they release that, we're like, okay, that's kind of useless. Maybe we'll offer like some technique, low intensity things like that. We're looking at doing maybe some gymnastics classes where it's like, hey, you're just working skills, no heavy breathing. So we might bring in a few things like that, but we won't go back to full group classes for a while. So we're just looking now. We'll lock in probably another 2 months, and we'll do all the programming, set it up all that way, and then at least we can just kind of stick to the same. And that makes life a lot easier, because the administrative back end of all this has been the biggest nightmare of like, oh God, okay, schedule updates. And you're like, cool. It's like an entire Sunday spent just changing everything. And then 10 days later, oh, you can do this now. But I just changed. I don't want
to. I can only imagine my up and down, up, down.
Yeah. So that's where it's nice to where like, okay, the group class restrictions are terrible. We're going Raincity Globo. We're locking that in, and we're going to do it really well for the next however long we can or need to. And we'll do it in kind of like, 2-month blocks at this point. But I'm assuming, I'm not even going to pretend that we're doing full group classes or anything fun like that until closer to September at this point, which, managing expectations for yourself, I think, is what's helped me stay sane through this. Not thinking, oh, maybe next week. Nah, it's gone.
No, it's smart. Do you have any tips for business owners out there, or anyone who's thinking about starting a business right now?
I mean, don't do it right now. I mean, or maybe it's perfect time. Depends what. Tips. I mean, biggest, I mean, mine are most, and I do a lot of like pre-COVID small business consultation stuff, and most of it is pretty depressing stuff. Like, remember that you're not special or different. Like, I've lived through I've had a bad employee that sued me and dragged me through the dirt. I've had that, like, every small business cliche is a cliche for a reason. You're not special or different, and I mean that in the nicest of ways. But you are just another small business owner, and that's great. Like, know that and learn that and learn those things that, you're going into business with friends. That's great. Have all the paperwork done. But no, we get along great. That'll never happen to us. It's going to happen to you. Like, everything that you hear about happening all the time, there's a reason, and just plan for the worst. And as depressing as that can be sometimes, it's one of those things will bite you, or a bad lease to the landlord, or a bad, you know what I mean? Like, it only takes one of those things to really bite you in the ass. And like, I rushed into it all in many, many ways, and I have been bitten in the ass so many times by it that's why I meet with tons of different small businesses. And if you ever have any too, I'm happy to talk to whoever or whatever else, because it's like, hey, here's the lessons I learned the hard way and very expensive way, between employee lawsuits because I didn't have a proper contract. It's fine, you don't need it. And then you realize, oh, you do need it. And after 10 months of dealing with the court case, I've learned, okay, this is why you need these things. And I'm like, I wish somebody told me that. Like, not just people just say, oh yeah, you need contracts. Okay, like, why and what for? What is what? And so, I'd say, yeah, understand that you're not special or different. And again, it always sounds sad to say, but would be one of the big ones. And then, yeah, don't sign a lease, and don't hire anybody until you absolutely have to. Those are my other two big ones I say a lot. We're actually looking now, this is the first time we're looking to outsource our like email management and back end, and so via Upwork, and it's just a good time. I don't know how it's going to go, but like, we keep training. We always have one or two coaches manage most of that, and they're getting so busy with private training and stuff that, like, if you're an experienced good coach, you don't want to sit there doing admin work. And so we've just made our way through 3 or 4 every time. They new coach, good, we teach them on a good, you're stuck dealing with all that stuff now. And then as they get better, it's like, okay, well, we need to free up your time for taking on clients, and I'm just tired of training a new coach every 6 months to a year for that. So we're going to be trying out the, like, fully outsourced, virtually online, somebody totally remote, just to take on the basics. And I'm literally just going through that process now, and I'm almost worried it's one of those things that I'll do and be like, shit, why did I not do this 5 years ago? Or it's going to be 3 months of my life completely wasted, dealing with God knows what. And we'll see. I'm pretty hopeful. I think it should actually be pretty useful, but I don't know.
Yeah, well, you got the thing too. You got to try things and see what works and what doesn't. It's the only way to really find out, right? So
Exactly.
hopefully in the long run, it'll save you some time and money, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the very least, if I'm going to have to train a new coach anyways, I'd rather train somebody that is going to be an admin for the rest of their life. And, that's easier to find remotely. I know a lot of gyms that I've worked at, you get a client to do it and stuff, like, which can work as well, but that client does other things or will want to. So that's why I'm like now trying to, like, okay, get somebody that does this full time and have them just do it for us part time. And then that way, you'll have that person for however long, and you're not having to train a new one every 6 months. Hopefully, that's the theory.
No, fair enough. So
Yeah.
where can everyone find Raincity Athletics?
Where?
Yes.
We are in Vancouver, 333 Terminal, just down from Science World in Vancouver, BC. Yeah, and then Functional Fitness League, you can find, one day when it comes back, we'll take you on anywhere in BC right now. And then, but yeah, biggest thing, support, if they're looking to support anything, would be the Functional Fitness Sports Association. Anybody interested? And again, we're looking to register clubs for that. To meet via sports standards, you have to have a certain number of registered athletes and clubs. It's $100 a year to become, and it's kind of like BC weightlifting. I don't know if you guys were. I know, like, Raincity, we're registered as a weightlifting club, and again, the fees are next to nothing. It is a nonprofit, so like everybody can see everything. We're not doing anything with the money at this point, but yeah, so we're trying to grow that base right now is one of the biggest things people could do. But yeah, obviously I'll take anybody local in the area to come to buy Raincity too.
Okay. No, awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. I wish you the best of luck moving forward over these next few months, and I appreciate you sitting down and taking the time.
Oh, no
And
problem, man.
yeah, we'll be watching your journey, and yeah, all the best with everything, man.
It's good to catch up, and yeah, I'm looking forward to. I love the sounds of what you guys are doing. I've always with like FFL and other things, I always wanted to do something. I call it the Coca-Cola card of fitness. You remember those cards? Way back, we're old now.
Yeah,
Kids
yeah,
don't know,
yeah, yeah.
right? We're like, oh, you have that card and you got 10% off here, and do so. That's kind of what I picture.
Yeah.
General idea you guys are doing. So I think it's fantastic. It's something, one of those things, like you said, we've got all these things in the back of the mind, and that's one that I like. Love the idea of. Never had an opportunity to remotely pursue it. We kind of tried to with the league, where it's like, hey, be registered with us and we'll all help each other out, but it wasn't the main focus. So I think it's pretty awesome to hear that you guys are like pushing that and going straight at that. I think yeah, let me know any way I can help with that or what we can do to be involved there. I think it's a great idea.
No, thank you. Appreciate it, Simon. Yeah. And oh yeah, one last thing. Why do they call you Thor?
It's not even as good of a story as people would like there, because I came from, like most CrossFitters, I came from like hardcore bodybuilding backgrounds, so I could bench press 300 plus. I couldn't squat it to save my life. And so when I first joined a real CrossFit gym, and we were doing strict press one day, and everybody else is like warming up and they're like maybe getting to 100 pounds, and I remember just like, I didn't know what was normal or not, just loading up the bar, and like 95 was up at like, come up on 200 and something pounds and doing my strict press, and everybody just like, what the. And so I had these shoulders, I was just big upper body whatever guy, and so I think I was one of that. And then yeah, I didn't get the nickname directly that day, but that was how I like made my impression on that gym at the time, was shoulder press guy. They're like, what how can you, like, I can't squat but I can do this. This is my thing. And then yeah, and then I always wanted to be called Moose, was the nickname
Okay.
I wanted, like from the Archie comics. I had, of course, a blog and everything, Moose's Workouts or Moose's Wads or something. And people refused to call me that. I was like, yeah, but no, like big dumb blonde guy, come on, no. And then one day, one of the coaches was like, yeah, no, I got it, Thor. And I knew another guy nicknamed Thor. I was like, whatever. And then it just never went away.
Oh,
Now I'd say half my clients don't even know that my real name is Simon, so that's whatever.
well, it's fitting, man. It's good.
Yeah, it works. I'll take it. It's not the worst. It's not the worst nickname. Yeah.
No, that's
Awesome.
man. No, thanks again for everything. And yeah, we'll be in touch shortly. And yeah, we'll keep you posted on Mom and Pop. And we wish you luck over the next few months and even years.
Yeah, definitely. Sounds good. Awesome. Good to catch up with you.
Okay, take care, Simon.
Yeah, see you, boss.